I'm super excited. This is the first time I've ever gotten to speak to a group of ladies because of my blog. As of the 3rd, which is Monday, I've been blogging for 8 years. So I've been doing it a long time. So this is super exciting. I brought business cards. You can take one, pass them down. It has all my social media information. I'm on Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram. Pick your poison, I'm there. And I'm pretty active on all social media. So my blog is called Beautiful in His Time. And it's based in the verse Ecclesiastes 3:11 that says God makes everything beautiful in His time. In Ecclesiastes, it kind of goes through this back and forth. You know, there's a time for this bad thing, and there's a time for this good thing. Kind of goes back and forth. And when I look at life is really messy. You know, you have good times, you have hard times, you have death, you have these times you get really angry about stuff. And what I love about that passage is it gives validity to all of the human experience and all of the human emotion. And so what I do on my blog is I talk about my life. It's a very personal, vulnerable, like show you pictures of my messy house, vulnerable. There's a post about that. Where I look at my mess, because my life is very messy, and I look for beauty in it. I look for God's beauty in my mess. So that's what I'm about. The last few years of my life have been, well, I would say the last 8 years. I got married, my husband deployed, we moved from Texas to Kentucky, he deployed again. I had postpartum depression, he came back, he was diagnosed with anxiety, and then our son was diagnosed with ADHD, adjustment disorder, and then at the beginning of this year, ODD. So we've been through a lot, and I've struggled a lot with my faith. And so like I said, I started 8 years ago blogging, and then about 2012, about 4 years in, I really started to kind of move from like, hey, look at cute pictures of my son when he's 20 months old, like, to, okay, let me really talk about what's going on, and what's going on not just with me, but like with my heart, and what are my flaws. And I kind of started peeling back my life and the things that I was believing about myself and believing about God, and kind of exploring faith through my writing, and began to really grow as a person. So because I am a very real, vulnerable person, we are going to get real and vulnerable with each other today. So I hope you're not too scared, but what I'd like to do with you is to work together with you. I really just want to be a facilitator today. I do have some things I'd like to say, but you guys are the ones who are going to do the real work today. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and pray so that I can get my head engaged and calm, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Dear God, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I've been so excited since the moment I got that email in the McDonald's drive-thru that you were giving me this opportunity to speak. And then when you laid this topic on my heart, I knew that this is what I needed to talk about with these women. And I pray that you would work in them to walk together with each other in a Godward direction like you have been teaching me. I pray that you would be with my words, help me to be the facilitator today, but I pray that you would be the one that would do the real work. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so we all know that we should not compare ourselves to each other, and we shouldn't envy, and we shouldn't covet. Like, we all know this. So can you tell me some verses, that first one that pops into your mind about covetousness and envy and comparison? Does anybody have any verses?
Exodus 20, is it? And it's one of the
Ten Commandments. Thou shalt not covet. We're going to talk about that one today. I think there's a verse that says, those that compare themselves among themselves are not wise. So this is, Bible school. You know this. But we are women. And I don't know, what it is about being a woman, but I feel like we're kind of hardwired to look at each other. And I think some of that is because we're relational, empathetic beings. So we see the good in other people, and then we envy that good. And we have a lot harder time seeing the good in ourselves. Galatians 6:4-5, this is out of the Message. I'm normally pretty conservative with my versions, but I really like how this put. Make a careful exploration of who you are and the work you have been given, and then sink yourself into that. Don't be impressed with yourself. Don't compare yourself with others. Each of you must take responsibility for doing the creative best that you can with your own life. So, we have this inner voice. I kind of talk to mine in the third person, she's just mean. She wants to tear me down all the time. You're not pretty enough. Why can't you get your act together? Why can't you kick those 30 pounds? Why don't you look like her? She's just mean. And I have to tell her to shut up all the time. Or she goes the opposite, and she'll puff me up, and then go all Miss McJudgy pants on everybody else. Leave her. So we all have this kind of inner voice, and I know you have it because we're women. We do it. So jealousy, envy, covetousness. I want to talk about some of the women in the Bible. They were no strangers to this sin. And yes, we don't want to talk about it like it's sin, but that's what it is. So we're going to start with Eve, who, she didn't have any other women envy, lucky her. But so, there's this devil. And I don't know, I've read a few things that kind of suggest that, it says it was a serpent. The serpents back in the Garden of Eden looked a little different than serpents that we know today. So it says that Lucifer was beautiful. So I don't know to what extent she necessarily envied Lucifer. But when he came to her and said, don't you want to be smart? You can do that, you can be smart. And Eve said, I wish I could be smarter. I wish I could have that. And so she ate the fruit. We know the story. So then fast forward a few thousand years probably. And I'm going to talk about Rachel and Leah. Now, I read this story several times over the last week, and I was just shocked about the things I just had never seen before. So you have these two sisters. Now, the Bible very clearly states that there was a difference in their appearance. Now, we don't know exactly the details. It says that Leah, her eyes were tender, her eyes were clouded, she had delicate eyes, her eyes were weak, her eyes were dull, blurry eyes. I was Googling, what does this mean? What was wrong with Leah's eyes? We don't know. It could have been, I read one website that said she didn't want an arranged marriage, and she cried and cried and cried and cried until all her eyelashes fell out. Or it could have just been that she had blurry eyes. I don't know. But it says very clearly about Rachel, she was beautiful, well-favored, fair in face and form, beautiful figure, good-looking, beautiful features, shapely, beautiful form, exceeding fair. Those were all the different translations that I found. In other words, she was hot. Hot. So I don't know exactly when their rivalry started, but I can imagine that if the Bible went out of its way to describe the differences in appearance, that they were pretty aware of them as well. And so Leah wasn't that pretty, and Rachel was. And so I can imagine that as sisters, that rivalry probably started very young between them. So then you had this stud, Jacob, comes and was like, I want to marry Rachel, she's hot. And he works and works and works, and the only way that Leah could get married off was for her father to trick him. I mean, can you imagine how that would make you feel? That, man, no man wants me. The man I'm marrying doesn't even want me. So my dad had to trick him into marrying. So then they get married. So I imagine that Leah was thinking, I wish I were pretty. I wish I looked like Rachel. I wish I were wanted. I wish I were desired. This dream lasted years and years and years, because you figure you have 7 years for Leah, then 7 more years for Rachel. That's 14 years at the very least, and then they go on to have loads and loads of kids. So Leah is wishing that she were different, wishing that she were pretty and desired. But she was good at one thing, making babies. And so she starts popping out kids, left and right, popping out all these kids. And Rachel wasn't so happy about that. So I'm going to read this. This is Genesis 30. Now when Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister. and said to Jacob, "Give me children or else I die." She was a little bit dramatic about it. But I don't want to step on anyone's feelings with that statement who might be experiencing infertility. That was maybe not the most sensitive thing to say, I'm sorry. And Jacob's anger was aroused against Rachel. And he said, "Am I in the place of God who has withheld from you the fruit of your womb?" So she said, so then she gives her the handmaid, and the handmaid goes in, and I'm just going to skip through some of this. And when her handmaid conceives, Rachel said, "With great wrestlings I have wrestled with my sister, and indeed I have prevailed." So she's like, I want up her, you know? And so she called his name Naphtali. So Rachel was saying, "I wish I could have kids like my sister." So then Leah kind of quit. She got like this dry spell. She quit bearing. So she gave her handmaid, has a couple kids by the handmaid. And then it says, "Now Reuben went in the days of the wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field and brought them to his mother Leah. And Rachel said to Leah, 'Please give me some of your son's mandrakes.' She said to her, 'Is it a small matter that you have taken away my husband? Would you also take away my son's mandrakes too?' So she was like, 'What kids? You stole my man, and now you want more?' And so Rachel says, 'Therefore he will lie with you tonight for your son's mandrakes.'" She basically, it says, "When Jacob came out of the field for the evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, 'You must come in to me, for I have surely hired you with my son's mandrakes.'" So she basically hires her husband to sleep with her.
Oh my God.
So Leah, again, "I wish I could sleep with my husband as much as my sister gets to." So you have this kind of war between these two women where they're comparing themselves to each other and they're envying each other and they're being nasty about it. So we're gonna put them aside. We're gonna fast forward to another two women who again were married to the same guy. Polygamy is a really bad idea.
Doesn't go well.
So we're going to talk about Hannah and Peninnah. And it's the same kind of thing. A man has two wives. One can pop out kids. The other can't. And at least Hannah was a little bit nicer about it. And when she envied Peninnah, she talked to God about it, which is really the smarter thing to do. So they go up to Shiloh. I'm just kind of skimming through this. But to Hannah, he would give a double portion, for he loved Hannah, although the Lord had closed her womb. And her rival also provoked her severely to make her miserable, because the Lord had closed up her womb. So it was, year by year, when she went up to the house of the Lord, that she provoked her. Therefore Hannah wept and did not eat. So even though Hannah was kind of a little bit nicer about it, she was very sorrowful about her infertility, and her rival was just relentless. "I can have babies, but you can't." So Hannah was saying, "I wish I could have kids like Peninnah can." So while we're not dealing with polygamy and mandrakes, and hopefully no one's hiring their husband to sleep with them, when we remember that these women are just like us, we see that they care about the same things that we care about: sex, kids, feeling important, feeling smart, feeling pretty, being wanted, being desired, feeling loved. So now I'm going to tell you a story about me and a friend of mine. Now, I go to a church, it's a kind of a small church, and we have care groups. And so we are in this care group where we meet in a family's house, and we meet in the house of Holly and Travis. Now, Holly is the sweetest person ever. I love her. Holly's husband is a doctor, like a lung doctor, but like he's a teacher. He's like a professor. So anyway, they make good money. I mean, doctors, we know this. And they just moved into a custom-built house, and it's big and it's nice. Now, they're not ostentatious. Trust me, I've been in houses where you walk in the door and you feel like there's signs that says, "We make a lot of money." It's not that kind of house, but it's nice. It's nice things. And Holly has this sense of style that's just incredible. Like, it's minimalist and clear and crisp enough that you could totally see it in a magazine, but it's totally cozy enough that you feel like you can kick your feet up and take your socks and shoes off and walk around, and it's homey, and like I don't know how she does it. Like I feel like she must have some kind of interior decorating superpower. And she has like this chalkboard with like awesome lettering on the wall that says something about grace or something. I don't know. It's just beautiful. So we go once a month, and we have care group, and every time I sit there and I'm listening, of course, to care group, but I'm also good at multitasking, so I'm sitting there looking around, looking at all of the wonderful things at Holly's house. And one time I had to nurse my baby. He's 15 months now. We're not nursing anymore, but I needed to nurse Sammy, and so, I forgot to tell you I have 2 kids, 6 and 15 months. I was meant to say that in the introduction. So I go, and I was like, where can I nurse Sammy? She said, well, go in my room. So she has like this king-size bed and like dressers with nothing on them. Like, I don't know. And this beautiful chair by this huge bay window where you can just look out in the woods. And I'm just like, man, her house is just so beautiful. I love this. And like eventually, like 6 months later, I ended up purposely clearing everything off my dresser and putting it in the drawers just so I would feel better. So anyway, so I envy Holly's house. I envy her sense of style. I envy a little bit that her husband makes more money than my husband, even though they're not ostentatious about it. So we're at care group. This had to have been, I don't know, maybe August. And we always go around at the end and take prayer requests, and then they ask for volunteers to pray, and I volunteered to pray. And so I prayed. Now when I pray, I mean, you heard me, I just talk to God. I don't like Christian jargon because of my background. I grew up in church and really struggled with legalism a lot, and so I just talk to God. I'm very, very honest, very real. I mean, I'm as real with my people on my blog as I am with my family as I am with God. I let it all hang out. So after I was done praying and the group was kind of dismissed and we were getting food, she comes up to me and she said, April, I envy you so much. I am so jealous of you because you have the most beautiful way with words. And it just wows me. That's kind of cool. And I kind of just like pushed it out of my head and I went on with my day. And then, but as time went on, like I think a week or 2 went by and I was like, man, I'm sitting here every week and I'm envying Holly. And she's sitting here every week and she's envying me. And we put each other up on these pedestals, like, oh, if only I could be like her. We say things like, I wish I had, blue eyes like she does, or kids that obey the first time.
What's that like?
Cute boots, or, I mean, it's not just, the first things that are coming to my mind are very materialistic things, but it's not just that. I mean, she envied my way with words. We might envy that someone is extroverted when we're introverted. We might envy because someone has this really close-knit group of friends and we don't. We say things like, I wish I could save $60 in coupons at the grocery store every time I go. I can't do that. I wish I could do cute Pinterest crafts with my toddler. She can't. I wish I could do chalkboard lettering like she can. I wish I could be successful at a home-based business like doTERRA or La Rue. Did I say that right? Like she can. We say these things. I wish my nose, hair, boobs, feet, neck, hair, did I say hair? Looked like yours does. I wish my husband or kids did the laundry. Like yours do. Or the dishes. My husband actually does do the dishes. I was Facebook stalking some of you because I was trying to do something that I knew about because it's a take song. Somebody posted something in 2014 that said their husband did the laundry. I don't remember who that was. And you were like talking about your inner voice about like, oh, I shouldn't complain about how he does the laundry because he's doing it. My husband does the dishes. a lot. So, like I said, you guys are going to do most of the work. Okay, so back to Holly. So we had that thing in August, and a few weeks later we went out for coffee. I was supposed to be a bunch of moms, and we were the only two that showed up. So we started hanging out, and I told her what happened, and I said, what you did by coming to me and telling me that you envied me, that changed my life. Because it's okay. Apologize. We're just laughing because it's so I told Holly, I said, you know, it changed me. You told me that because I was very honest with her. I said, I sit there every week and I envy your house and I envy your style, and she was just shocked. Like she's like, I can't believe that these were things about me that you envied. And so we were able to get like really real with each other. And I think that something changed in my relationship with Holly that day. We were friends who went to church together, but we weren't like close. And now it's December, so this is it's been a few months, and we ended up in the same Sunday school class that started on Sunday, and our pastor's talking about discipleship, and he would love to see people paired with each other to enter discipleship relationships. And I went up to Holly on Sunday and said, I want you to disciple me. And we met on Tuesday, and we had just the best time. And I think that she and I think I'm really going to be able to gain things from her, and she's going to be able to gain things from me. And I think that had that not happened, had she not come to me and said, I envy you, I don't know that I would have been comfortable and real and been able to be real with her in the way that I can now. So we are going to do something a little, like I said, this is where we're going to do the work. We're going to be a little bit vulnerable with each other. Now, I was talking to
Jill,
Jill.
you're good. It's the first time I've ever met her, so we're
How well do
good.
we all know each other? She said, well, some of us don't know each other all that well. So this activity might not work as well as I want it to. But what we're going to do is we're going to be honest. We're going to take one, pass it down. The first